Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing an astrology report for the new moon in Taurus, which takes place on the 4th of May at 10:45 PM Universal Time, which translates to 11:45 PM here in the UK because the clocks are forward on some months. I'll be outlining some of the key elements or the key kind of themes that the new moon presents to us, along with some key aspects to it, and give an overview of what it all means. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology doesn't control our lives. It gives us a framework to help us understand what's unfolding around us and what kind of key areas of growth it presents us to at this time. But from there, it's up to each and every one of us to utilise information to the best of our ability and take the necessary actions in order to maximise the kind of growth that can be achieved through the astrology of the new moon. Now, in terms of the new moon itself, this is symbolically the merging of the moon and sun, the conscious and subconscious minds, and this is a time where there's an opportunity to sow the seeds of new beginnings in areas ruled by Taurus, but they are just opportunities. They're not guaranteed to happen. If we want things to happen, we have to work with it rather than just expect things to just magically appear for us without us doing any work ourselves. So with the new moon in Taurus, this is an opportunity to plant the seeds of new beginnings around areas like becoming more grounded in life, so having a stronger connection with the physical body. It's also about, Taurus deals with our relationship with our resources, so specifically material resources, and looking at our relationship to it. Do we see it as something that we own, or do we see the material resources as something that we utilise or that we're stewards of, and that we apply or seek to utilise it in the most efficient way possible so that we make the most of what we have? And it's also looking at, do we base any of our identity around our resources, or do our sense of self separate from what we have, so we don't make the mistake of thinking that I am what I have, which is the key pitfall of Taurus, is basing our identity on what we have, and therefore our self-esteem becomes wedded with what we have, and if we lose a load of stuff, then our self-esteem or sense of self-worth takes a hit. So if we do engage at that level of Taurus, then this is an opportunity to develop more detachment in that respect and to seek to have a healthy relationship with our resources. It's also an opportunity to look at maybe developing more appreciation in life. So, because with Taurus, it's not about denying ourselves pleasure, it's the capacity to enjoy what we have, to take pleasure in the fruits of our labours, but not allow the desire function to become tied to it, to the point where if we're not getting the fruits of our labours, then we feel a sense of suffering from it. So it's that capacity to enjoy the fruits of our labours without being attached to it. So it's the capacity to be in the world and not of it. Taurus is also about the capacity to be committed to a goal, or to take the steady, consistent actions required to sustain a goal in the long term. Because Taurus is all about building, if you like, and you think about when a building is under construction, it goes through a phase where actions are being taken to build it, but the overall or the finished product isn't visible yet. So this is the key stage of building, where it's going through the step-by-step process of making or the step-by-step actions required to sustain a goal and to push it towards its fruition. But if we're not taking the step-by-step goals, the end result will not materialise, as it were. So this is also an opportunity to develop that perseverance and steadfastness necessary to stay committed to goals. So if we recognise where we have a tendency to be lazy, or to allow self-indulgence or the pursuit of immediate pleasures to distract us from the goals that are really worthwhile, then this is an opportunity to overcome this tendency, to develop the perseverance as a countermeasure against laziness, and to also overcome any tendency towards stubbornness or inflexibility, and recognise where we have a fear of change and seek to consciously embrace change instead. Taurus is all about the organic cycles of life, the organic process of growth, where everything has its own natural timing, And if we try to fight against it, if we try to make things happen outside the natural timing, we keep hitting a brick wall, if you like, and keep hitting that resistance. So just learn to overcome that resistance to how things are, to learn to be present with the process, and to learn to appreciate it. Because, for example, here at the allotment, we can plant the crops, we can water them, but we can't make them grow any faster than they're intended to, and we can't make them produce fruit outside of the natural season, because everything has a season and a time. If we try to make things happen any faster, we're more than likely to actually undermine our efforts, or undermine the end result, and end up with less than what we're hoping for. So this is an opportunity to seek to become more present with the process, to be more grounded, and learn to enjoy the process of growing or pursuing the goals that we're seeking to make manifest in our lives. So it's learning to slow down, become grounded in the present moment, and appreciate the step-by-step process, and learn to enjoy it rather than doing it with gritted teeth or resenting it, because each task towards a goal has a necessary function. It's necessary that we take those actions, otherwise the goal doesn't really manifest. And it's having that perseverance when our motivation is lacking, to push ourselves through that resistance, to push ourselves through that inertia that we all face at some point when pursuing a goal, and to overcome that inertia through dedicated action and steady progress towards the goal that allows it to reach its full fruition. Now, in terms of aspects to the new moon in Taurus, the ruler of this new moon is Venus. She's in Aries at the moment, so in terms of the evaluative function, if you like, or what we value, it tends to be that desire to make things happen quickly. But if we can operate at the higher level of Venus in Aries, it's also about learning to be objective and overcome any tendency towards impatience. So it's learning to be assertive when need be, and to recognise where we need to be patient with the process, and to overcome the need for instant gratification. The other aspects taking place will be, they're both quite weak at the moment, but there'll be a sextile from Neptune in Pisces, and there'll be a trine from Saturn to the new moon as well, Saturn in Capricorn. So both these planets are in the home sign, so they emphasise a strong Capricornian and Piscean energies influencing the new moon. So Neptune in Pisces reminds us to surrender to the natural process. It's learning that in order to flow with the changes, we need to be able to surrender the need for control, and to surrender to the natural timing of things rather than trying to force things to happen at different times. Also, Neptune in Pisces reminds us to be loving and compassionate in our interactions with other people. It reminds us to embrace our intuition, our psychic sensitivity, but it's also about overcoming tendencies towards escapism. And with Taurus, a key form of escapism is indulging in the physical pleasures for instant gratification at the expense of the long-term goal. The other aspect I mentioned, Saturn in Capricorn. Saturn is retrograde at the moment, so it's all about developing the self-discipline necessary to overcome any tendencies towards taking the easy way out. So this Saturn trine to the new moon gives us an opportunity to focus on bringing the discipline to hand necessary to keep goals going, to sustain them. So it's using that discipline and focus and that adherence to natural laws that allows us to see goals through to their completion. But it's also remembering that sometimes the way we envision a goal initially may not be how it ultimately turns out, but it may be turn out in a better way than how we envisioned it. So it's having that discipline needed to continue taking the necessary actions, but also having the capacity to surrender, so the two together allow us to embrace the natural flow of events. Because when we're in the flow, we find that we don't need to work as hard to achieve the end results, because we're going with the natural process, so we're no longer fighting against it. And when we're going with the flow, we feel a sense of ease in terms of what we're doing. We going with the flow. We don't feel a need to control or to fear anything anymore, so we overcome the stress nature, and we just have that faith that what we need will be provided. But if we want something and it's not a need, then we'll have to work for it. But if we're willing to dissolve or to surrender the need for control and to surrender our attachments to the way things are, or attachments to the status quo, we can create new ways of doing things, new ways of being. And if we can remember to cultivate an appreciation for what we already have, an appreciation for the world around us, this overcomes the fear side of Taurus, like that materialistic streak, that desire for pursuit of immediate gratification, which is the more base level of Taurus, and instead learn to appreciate what we already have. So using gratitude to overcome any tendencies towards fear and any tendencies towards control, and allow ourselves to align with the natural timing of things and to appreciate the organic cycles. Because when you spend time in nature and see how nature operates, we see that nature doesn't rush things. Everything happens in its own time and everything's needs are met. So why worry about tomorrow? Why try and force things to happen today? Why not go with the natural flow? Why not allow things to unfold in the natural timing and just learn to appreciate the natural cycles? And when we align with nature, whatever we need is provided to us, and if we want something and it's not a need, we'll have to work hard for it. So may the new moon in Taurus bring many new beginnings or many blessings. And may this be an opportunity to change the way we do things, so that we seek a higher level of operation in Taurus, where we have that detachment that allows us to appreciate what we have and to appreciate the physical pleasures of life, but not become bogged down in them, and have the discipline and capacity to surrender, so that we go with the natural flow of events and allow the natural timing of things to guide us to when we take action and when to sit back and let things unfold before the next action is taken. So may the new moon in Taurus bring many blessings. Take care.